And unfortunately, because this is an extremely profitable industry, we have seen in the last 5 years a lot of players reinventing themselves, claiming that they are Web3 experts, changing their title on LinkedIn, claiming that they have done plenty of work before. And that's where a real issue starts.
Is your message not getting across? Try a corporate comic. Hey Marco, thank you so much for your time today and joining us on the show. I think to kick this off and to kind of inform our audience, I'd love for you to tell us your background and your story.
Hey Ali, thanks a lot for having me. Pleasure to finally be on your show. So my story is similar to quite a few people. I actually come from traditional finance. I was a broker, an institutional broker for pretty much 15 years in between London, New York, and Singapore. I was trading derivatives, equities for family office, funds. And then in between 2016, 17, I got lucky enough that few clients start asking about Bitcoin, what it is, how do I trade it? That time, the listed part was fairly dead, not much liquidity. Only the CME was doing or talking about doing some stuff. But I jumped on it. And similar to probably all of us, I fell into the rabbit hole of blockchain. Started to learn more, started to executing more for myself, for clients about with listed spot derivatives and more and more and more. I soon discovered that the world was way bigger than just the speculative aspects behind it. I continued to educate myself, and I decided to take the leap of faith and leave traditional finance and move fully in blockchain. I moved in regulation, where I was providing anti-money laundering service through a large data analytic provider. Multiple entities at government level, at institutional level, both in Web 2 and in Web 3. That was an incredible experience because it opened plenty of doors for me, and I really got into this crazy world, and I expanded my network. So this is pretty much my journey into Web 3.
So I'd like to kind of analyze your journey a little bit more. So obviously coming through traditional finance, and the people I speak to in traditional finance, they sort of have assumptions about Web3 and crypto. Obviously even today they have assumptions, but I guess if we're looking at 2016, 2017, was there anything that you went in believing that you found out to not be true, or anything you went in not believing that you found out to be true when it comes to crypto, Web3, blockchain as a whole?
When somebody's used to traditional finance, I think that obviously the scariest thing is always the volatility of these asset classes. The speed at which they can move and cause painful damages is something scary. When you are a broker and you are executing transactions for clients, you want to execute the best price, but also you have as a responsibility to support your clients, helping them making money. It's scary when everything can go wrong in a matter of seconds, and sometimes even without. If you're used to study macroeconomics or patterns, and all of a sudden there is a market that behaves out of the usual frames, it can be scary.
Yeah, I guess when coming to economics, so I did my undergrad in finance, and in behavioral economics they have the assumption that humans behave rationally and have access to the same information. And I feel like with crypto, it's just not true.
That literally goes out of the door, absolutely.
Yeah. And I feel like crypto is great because it is, at least for me, it's a psychology study as well, right? Like how people behave. Even people, very experienced traders will behave irrationally due to information and everything. So I think you're right. You want to do the best thing for your clients, right? And obviously them losing money is not the greatest thing. So I kind of like to go and talk about Semoto, and tell us how you went from well, what you just told us, that you were doing your journey and the AML stuff, and like about Semoto and the journey and how that happened.
So the journey, in my opinion, it started when I was still in finance, because I've always been a facilitator. Part of my role has always been to connect A, B, and C in order to get some business done. So if you wanted to trade equity and you were just starting, you probably needed an administrator, a custodian bank, a platform to trade, how to raise capital. So for me, it was always to put these people together in order to give you a ready-made box that you can use to trade. So I've always curated my network across different verticals. Then when I moved to blockchain, I realized how fragmented it is. It is a way smaller industry for sure, but it's extremely fragmented. Still people don't know each other, still don't know who to use. And this is where the light went on, and I realized that there was a gap in the market. People needed a bit of support in order to enter this industry.
That's a really interesting take on it, and I think with fragmentation, you're right, because it's fragmented by country, it's fragmented by ecosystem, it's fragmented by demographic, and even though it can be cohesive at times, it's not very cohesive. So I'd like to go into that a little bit more, and can you kind of tell me the main problems that are faced by your audience?
We're seeing multiples, and let's not forget Semoto. Semoto is a marketplace, is an ecosystem of Web3 service provider. We are a B2B marketplace, so we face two participants. We have the supply and the demand side. We have clients and service providers. Just to give you a bit of an idea, at present we cover 5 different verticals in the service providers, cover legal, accounting, marketing, insurance, and consulting. Now, the problems are different based on the audience. So if we focus on the client side, the average client, when it comes to Web3, they tend to focus on their project, on their idea, and they ignore or they kick their can down the road when it comes to real world type of problems, regulation, legislation. Where do I set up my business? Is this a utility or a security token? I need a stamp of approval from a law firm. I need an expert to write this piece of tokenomics for me. If I launch NFTs and I start earning royalties, who's going to declare taxes for me? So these are problems that they tend to avoid till they cannot do it. And when they have to rush to get it sorted, this is when problem happens, because they rely heavily on word of mouth, or they use provider that are already in touch, particularly from Web2. And unfortunately, because this is an extremely profitable industry, we have seen in the last 5 years a lot of players reinventing themselves, claiming that they are Web3 experts, changing their title on LinkedIn, claiming that they have done plenty of work before. And that's where a real issue starts, because you ended up with a wrong lawyer. And if you're trying to regulate your business, you might waste a year, you might waste 80 grand and more, and you don't get regulated, you don't go in the right direction simply because the guy doesn't fully understand what you're trying to get. So there is a lack of expertise. First of all, there are way too many wannabe experts, and it's extremely hard for a lot of projects to understand who to use, to find these people, but more importantly, to have a single entry point where you can easily and fast negotiating with multiple players at the same time, saving time and saving resources. This is mainly on the client side. Supply side is a different animal. Supply side, there are great providers out there. Me and you, we have a lot of friends in common in this industry, people that have studied, people that are embedded in the crypto communities, and they're doing a great amount of work to support it. Unfortunately, they don't get the recognition that they deserve. And because of what we mentioned before, because of so many wannabe experts. Also, the sales process has changed in the last decades. So it's way harder to get in front of the client at an early stage. When a client approaches a service provider, they already made up their mind. So they need to be in front of their clientele earlier. And the way to do it is via a system like Semoto that allows them to give the client the input on what they do quickly, so they can already embed their service in the client mind.
These are all really good points. I think anyone doing the project, especially in Web3, but externally, you get tunnel vision, right? You're like, I want to deploy this, I want to solve this problem, I want to raise money, I want to make customers, but you're not thinking about the necessary infrastructure that you need to get there. So in terms of, obviously, I'm sure like everyone here has seen the LinkedIn Web3 AI experts who just emerge out of everything, and anyone who's had a bad lawyer or accountant will know how damaging they can be. It's like having a bad doctor for your health. It's like, yeah, it's just not great. So when it comes to the vetting process, how do you ensure that the people within those 5 categories can meet and exceed expectations?
That's a great question, and I'm lucky enough that throughout the years between me and my partners working at institutional level, we have worked directly collaborating with some of the top providers out there. So we have used them, we have worked with clients together with these providers, so we test them on our own skin. So we already filter out a lot of people. But generally speaking, as a provider, in order to get into Semoto, you either get selected by us, so we are specifically looking for you because we have heard of what you're doing, or you can only be referred by a client or another provider. Either way, that is still the first step, because what we do a social media presence check. If you are not active in Web3 communities, if we don't see you collaborating, sustaining the ecosystem, you don't make it through the door. More importantly, we run also adverse media check. So if we find news, if we find that client have been damaged by your work, you're still not going to make it into the Semoto ecosystem. And finally, if we don't know you directly, we still require 3 recommendations from 3 clients that we can verify.
Sounds intense, but it sounds like the best of the best. And obviously, if you want to take a project to Series A, Series B, exit, you need to work with strong providers. So I hope that the people who are listening to this will appreciate the amount of work that you do to make sure that there are good suppliers on there. So in terms of your offering and what you do and who you do it for and how you do it, would you say that there are any competitors to you, or how do you do things differently? What kind of gives Semoto its edge?
Absolutely. I mean, we don't claim that we have reinvented the wheel here. Is an actually pretty simple piece of technology, but marketplace are embedded in our culture, are embedded in our generation. I'm sure that if we open mine or your phone, we probably order food, we go on holiday, we book cars via marketplaces. I'm a big fan of this simple piece of technology because it allows us to get quickly an idea of what we need, see what our peers are saying about the other providers, so we can clearly get an idea. So there are definitely competitors out there. The biggest one are places like Fiverr and Upwork, and I can only hope for Semoto that we will get to that size one day. What those guys build is incredible, and I learn a lot studying them. But it's a different animal, completely different animal. They are freelancer focused. We are B2B focused. We only embed agencies and companies in our ecosystem. And second of all, they don't have a Web3 focus. So if you're looking for anything blockchain, artificial intelligence related on a place like Fiverr or Upwork, you're only going to get really basic writer or small freelancers, nothing illegal, nothing in top services. And then obviously we have category specific type of ecosystem for lawyers, for example. There are a couple out there. The difference with us, I would say, we want to offer you a full journey coverage because the needs are different depending on where you are in your journey. At the beginning is basic services affected mainly by budget. At a later stage, you might want to replace your current provider with somebody bigger and more competitive. You have more money to play after seed or Series A, obviously. So we want to guide you and support you throughout your life as a company. We are embedding a lot of things to make us different from the rest. We are embedding a peer-to-peer review system where provider can review clients can leave comments on providers. Everything is transparent, everything is visible, so you can make choices based on also the support that you get from the rest of the ecosystem.
Yeah, I think giving the users the decision-making power. Because right now, if I was going to hypothesize, I haven't done my regulation. I either ring up all my friends and find somebody who can do the regulation, or I Google it, right? And I guess those, compared to what you're telling me, those are very rudimentary kind of solutions that will have knock-on effects in the future. But right now, I want to deal with my pain threshold, right? So I think being able to, again, account for budget in the beginning, because that is what the most important thing is, and just being able to transition, I think and covering them on the full journey, I believe is something that projects will be very, very thankful for. And what kind of geographies do you cover then?
So the core of our network is definitely UK based for multiple reasons. We have a really solid presence over here, and we selected already 110 service providers from those 5 categories. But these are players with the majority of the cases a presence here in the UK, but with a global coverage. So if Ali wants to launch a token in Dubai, we have experts that can help you. Is BVI and Cayman Island a better jurisdiction? We can support you with that. You have a foundation in Switzerland, so you want a tax expert that can support you with that? We cover those jurisdictions. Realistically, we're probably leaving US behind a little bit simply because of how the industry over there is reacting. Is still quite a gray area sometimes. So we're focusing on Europe. We already have a waiting list open for French provider, Swiss provider. We are ready to expand in UAE and a few other jurisdictions.
Nice. I think that from what it sounds, obviously the Americans, like you said, they're very gray area right now. But the other countries that you mentioned, they're quite hot and they want to attract the talent, right? So I think having the infrastructure there provides the level of security to people going out there. So I guess kind of coming to the last kind of point now. Can you kind of tell us more about what Semoto has done in the last few months and explain more about your roadmap and what people can expect from you, both from a business development standpoint and from a technological standpoint?
Yeah, thanks for that. So what we have done since launching the platform end of January, so quite recently, we have completed the deployment of our search engine. So right now you can create a profile and search for this provider, filtering out by company size, for example, subcategories, so level of expertise. So you can filter down till you really find what you need. We just completed this month the negotiation engine, and we're quite proud of that one because now you have that flexibility or don't have to go through 1,000 emails like it generally happens in a B2B exchange, but via Semoto, you can simply negotiate with multiple providers in the same place and have that quick back and forward where you reject an offer, you counter offer on what the provider is doing, and you have that flow between you and multiple people, so that can really save you a ton of time. We, as mentioned before, we already onboarded 110 providers, and now the focus for us is all on partnership. So we're really pushing to get a healthy flow of Web3 projects that can support the whole ecosystem. So we are partnering up with the foundations. We are looking for collaboration with venture capital, accelerators, universities. We want to be the glue of this ecosystem. So we want, for those people that are building, we want to be a place to go to build with confidence.
Amazing. And for either a supplier or a potential client who would be watching this, is there anything that you'd like to tell them, and how would they, get in contact with you, or what would be the next step for them to interact with Semoto?
Do you mind if I tell you about the roadmap as well? I think it's quite important.
Yeah, go for it, man.
So regarding the roadmap, I think we have quite a lot of exciting stuff coming in place. Because as any marketplace, disintermediation is one of the major issues, but also you want to add as much transparency, security to your audience. So what we are working on is now via third-party integration to facilitate the payments part. Not just traditional fiat, we are looking for embedding crypto to crypto, but more importantly, crypto to fiat. Because fun enough, even if a lot of these providers have been in Web3 for years, are supporting the ecosystem, unfortunately, particularly when they work for large organizations, they still cannot accept crypto. So through Semoto, they will be able to avoid that issue of having to release invoices for crypto, having to do accounting for that. Through us, the flow of it will be crypto from the client into and fiat into the provider. So streamline it like that. More importantly, we are selecting as we speak a vendor for an escrow solution embedded in a smart contract, and that we think it will be extremely it will be a game changer for us, because all of a sudden we're going to be able to provide security during this transaction. An interesting statistic for all the providers out there: 20 to 25% of smaller agencies, particularly in consulting and marketing, they don't get paid at all. The client disappears, he refuses to pay. So via an escrow, we can guarantee that they are going to get paid, and more importantly, we can even protect the client and ensure that the assets are secured till the work is completed to a certain level of standard.
I think those 2 points are really almost phenomenal. On the first one, if a project raises money in ETH or Solana, gets a grant, there's lots of different ways you can get paid in crypto, right? Especially as selling NFTs, whatever. So I think being able to do that sale, get that grant, and be able to, obviously I can only imagine it in my head, but one click kind of conversion and sending it to them, I think will really help speed along the processes, because like you're saying, emails, invoices, accounting, now I need a crypto accountant. I guess I can go to Semoto, but assuming they did know about that, it's a very convoluted process. And in terms of the escrow, I think that's really, so when you use Fiber or any of these platforms, you have an escrow service, and if I don't like the work, I can contest it, and not everyone likes the work, right? Not everyone's happy with the solution. So I think having that with the crypto thing, I think you're right with it being a game changer. And I feel like you saying that you're the glue now, I think even from a metaphorical sense, of course, but now I think even from a literal and technological standpoint, people getting a Solana Faster grant can go straight and pay their accountant with that money. In my head, it's like, this is a major next step into making crypto a real business. Obviously, me and you know it's real anyway, but
No, I see what you mean, and I'm glad that it resonates well. Thanks.
Yeah, I just think that there's a great demand for it, and I think coming through the platform makes sense, because then And not only that, so say law firm, market law firm is in the UK, and then if they have Dubai, they're doing a Dubai token launch, and then you can pay them in crypto. I think it just makes things easier, and I guess that's, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess that's kind of what you're doing at the end of the day, is to make things easier, right?
Yeah, and the beauty of an escrow is that our proposition is trust Semoto. We have vetted these people. We know that they work well and they are reliable. But the point of the escrow is, as an extra layer of security, we have vetted these people. They are not scammers, but wait till the work is completed in order to unfreeze your assets. And from the provider as well, they're going to have more peace of mind because they can see that assets are there, they are going to get paid.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, right? Is some people, they want to pay up front everything and not worry about it. Some people, they won't pay until the last minute, right? But I think with this, you're kind of saying that, and obviously the buyer has a certain level of risk and the seller has a certain level of risk, right? And it's like, who would want to manage the levels of risk, right? But I think with you putting it in the middle, it's kind of saying that it's even, and because it's even, you need to hold up your end of the deal and you need to hold up yours. And I guess you'll probably have some sort of inner dispute system or something to check.
Yeah, we are finalizing some work on that front. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you've got that in place, then if the accountant work is wrong, and again, most of at least two out of the 5 people, maybe even 3, they're regulated industries, right? So they have to do their job right, otherwise, like, their license is on the line. So I think having that with the vetting and everything, at least from an external standpoint, I feel like the quality of work will be there, and I feel like that's or at least I don't know whether it is important to projects, but it should be important to projects. Like the level and quality of work is like great. And yeah, I guess finally, do you have any message for our audience, or how they can contact you, get involved with Semoto?
So for the providers, as mentioned, we were building a really healthy pipeline. We're looking at different jurisdictions. So if you're listening to us from any countries in Europe, in UAE, in Asia, please get in touch. Not only on those 5 verticals, we are gearing up to launch software development as a vertical, risk and security, auditing, compliance, and much more. So if you think you are a pro at what you do, you have a track record to back you up, please get in touch with me, contact us, we would love to talk. For the projects, for the foundation out there, don't build alone. Don't rely on what your friend told you. It might not be suitable for you, or there might be a better option around the corner. So get in touch. We can help you build with confidence.